What's up guys, it's Tom here and welcome to the Europa League final preview video where we will analyze what it would mean for Chelsea or for Arsenal to win the Europa League. But first, I wanted your opinion. Who do you think will win the Europa League final and who do you want to win the Europa League final? I can't really call it. Honestly, it's such a 50-50 game. There were just a few points between Chelsea and Arsenal in the Premier League. And so far, Chelsea had a slightly the better season because they went to the League Cup final and they also finished in third. But if Arsenal win the Europa League and qualify for the Champions League, arguably, they could have a better season than Chelsea because a European trophy is always a special season. And I will be honest, I want Arsenal to win this game because their fans have suffered so much in the past 10 years and they haven't won a European trophy for like ages. The last time I think they won was the Cup Winners' Cup in the 80s or something like that, but it's a long time away. Also, did you see how Mauricio Sarri stormed out of the training session just one day before the Europa League final? So yesterday, after Higuain got elbowed in the face by David Luiz. I watched the video and it doesn't look as bad as the media seem to make, but still it's a quite unbelievable how one day before a cup final David Luiz goes around elbowing his teammates. It didn't make any sense, and Mauricio Sarri was clearly absolutely furious and livid. I mean, he slammed his hat onto the ground and then kicked it up into the air. It's quite a hilarious video. And I'm not sure, but Chelsea have so much internal unrest since Jose Mourinho left Chelsea, you know, and even before Jose Mourinho left, there was so much problem in the dressing room. So I'm not sure what is going on behind the scenes, but yeah, let me know what you think about that. And in 2006, Arsenal went to the Champions League final and they lost to Barcelona. And this year, fate or something crazy like the football gods made it so Arsenal, if they lose the Europa League final and then Tottenham win the Champions League, Arsenal fans will feel like this is the worst thing that could happen. I mean, honestly, if you are an Arsenal fan watching this, what would you do if Arsenal didn't win the Europa League and Tottenham won the Champions League? Let me know. I mean, how would you feel? Because Tottenham has always been the smaller club in North London. And of course, if Tottenham win the Champions League, they would still be a slightly smaller club than Arsenal. But that would hurt Arsenal fans so much. And if I was an Arsenal fan, I would be honestly like devastated if Tottenham win the Champions League ahead of Arsenal with all the investment that Arsenal had and with all the money that Arsenal had in the past 10 years, them moving to a new stadium and their owners promised Arsenal that they will be competing with the likes of Bayern Munich with the new stadium. That couldn't be further from the truth because since 2006 Arsenal didn't really make it to the Champions League semi-finals or the final, and that's a big shame because Arsenal as a football club it's a brilliant club. It's the third most successful club in England in terms of league titles, but they never won the Champions League, and if Tottenham win that, that would be devastating. So I think because of that scenario, I think Arsenal must win this Europa League final, because if they don't get Champions League, I can't see how they can attract the kind of players that is needed for Arsenal to build themselves up. And I think Arsenal should learn a lot from the Liverpool model, because Liverpool were in a similar position to Arsenal not too long ago before Jurgen Klopp took over, that we weren't qualifying for the Champions League, we were hovering in that 5th, 6th place, but Jurgen Klopp came in, there was a period of stability and everything worked together. And also Liverpool did a scouting committee behind Jurgen Klopp, made a lot of really important football people who know their football behind Jurgen Klopp, who could select the perfect type of player. And that's, I think, Arsenal's biggest weakness, that they don't have a guy or don't have guys who can really select the type of player that suits Arsenal. They have been signing brilliant players, don't get me wrong, Aubameyang, Lacazette, they are fantastic strikers, but Arsenal, since that great generation of invincibles, they always lacked that midfield steel. I don't really want to talk about Liverpool too much in this video, but they always lacked the kind of player that Jordan Henderson, James Milner, Gini Wijnaldum is. Something like an all-round midfielder who does like to do the dirty stuff and who is not like just flashy players, because apart from Torreira, Arsenal don't really have that kind of player. Guendouzi could be that kind of player, but he's still very young, very raw. And I think Arsenal signing Guendouzi and Torreira, that's a very good step in the right direction. But they need more. They need more players who want to win at all costs. Sometimes Arsenal have been just a little bit too comfortable. And of course, it's very difficult to change the whole culture of the club in one season. But I think Unai Emery has done a very, very good job. It's a shame that in the last month and a half, Arsenal have really fallen off a cliff because they lost so many games. They were actually favorites to finish in third place, but because of their away form, which came again and beat Arsenal really badly, they couldn't finish in the top four. Last season they had a historically bad away form, and this season, in the last 5 or 6 weeks, it looks like that returned. And you can't use the excuse of Arsenal focusing on the Europa League, because they still lost games that they never should have lost, in my opinion. And with just 1 or 2 more wins, Arsenal easily could have been in the Champions League places and push maybe even Tottenham out of it or Chelsea out of it. But at the moment, this is an all or nothing game for Arsenal, because if they win this, they will play in the Champions League, they can attract better players. But if they don't, then it's going to be very difficult to recruit the type of players that would take Arsenal to the next level. And I think it's also important to get Champions League football for the sake of keeping the likes of Aubameyang and Lacazette, because you can build a whole team around those 2 players, but if even one of them wants to leave and play in the Champions League, then it's going to be almost impossible. And Arsenal have to stop this cycle of always selling their best players, because they have been, guilty of that in the last 10 years. Eden Hazard could be leaving Chelsea. This could be most likely his farewell game. And he said before the Europa League final that this win, if Chelsea win the Europa League, that would be the perfect farewell. But whatever happens in this game, I think Eden Hazard leaves Chelsea as a Chelsea legend, one of their biggest and most important players in their whole history. Because remember that before Abramovich took over, Chelsea didn't win a lot of titles. Only 2, I think, in their whole history. But since then, they have won quite a few titles, and with Eden Hazard, they won, I think, 2 Premier League titles. The big regret for Hazard is that he came just after Chelsea won the Champions League, and he couldn't win the Champions League with Chelsea, but he won the Europa League already with Rafa Benitez as the temporary manager in I think it was 2013 or 14 or something like that. So that was a few seasons ago. So Chelsea, I think it's not as big a game for them as it is for Arsenal, and that could be Arsenal's advantage, because Arsenal are absolutely desperate for this to happen. For Chelsea, it's just another cup final in a long row of cup finals in their past 10 years, while for Arsenal, this is a very unique game. They haven't been playing European finals. I mean, Chelsea played 2 Champions League finals. They won one of them recently. They won a Europa League final as well. And for Arsenal, this is their first European final since 2006. So I feel that it's a huge game for Arsenal. And also, from Chelsea's point of view, this is a huge game for their manager. Mauricio Sarri has never won a trophy as a Chelsea manager, so I think it's massive for him personally and for some Chelsea players as well, but not all of them would care as much if they lost as Arsenal players would care, in my opinion. And this is what Eden Hazard said before the Europa League final. It is a European competition, so for me, for the club, for the manager, for the fans, it is something important. When you play a final, it doesn't matter whether it's the Champions League, Europa League, League Cup, you just want to win. You just want to bring the trophy home and celebrate that. When you play for Chelsea at the start of the season, people think about which trophy we can have at the end of May. So this one is the important one. We lost the League Cup final. So at the end of the season, this is the trophy that we can go for. We just want to win the trophy, that's it. It doesn't matter if I score or if I don't score. It is my last game. If it is my last game, I hope to bring the trophy. It would be a perfect farewell. And Eden Hazard already won the Premier League twice. He won the FA Cup, he won the Europa League, he won the League Cup. So he won everything at Chelsea apart from the Champions League. So that's a brilliant achievement for Eden Hazard, I think. And he leaves as a Chelsea legend, in my opinion. And I think his best season was under Jose Mourinho in 2014-15 in that title-winning campaign. And I think it's very likely that Eden Hazard will sign for Real Madrid, and it will be announced after the Champions League final, the Europa League final. And even the Real Madrid CEO Florentino Perez came out and admitted to the media very publicly that he wanted to sign Hazard for years, and he wants to sign Eden Hazard this summer because he would be perfect for Real Madrid. So if Florentino Perez says that, it's very difficult to say no. And even if Chelsea have a transfer ban, which I think they still do for this summer, if Hazard wants to go and Real Madrid can pay the money, I think he will go. That's my opinion. And thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you later. Goodbye.